Viren, you definitely do not require an introduction, but let me do this. Ex-captain of the Indian hockey team and Maratha Warriors, and now the Chief Executive Officer of Olympic Gold Quest or OGQ, Viren Rasquinha. Welcome to At Work on Connected to India.
Thank you, Himanshu. Lovely to be here and great to see you after a long time. We go back a long way, so it's always a pleasure to chat with you.
I know, man. It almost feels like after I said Maratha Warriors, it's going to be like a pre-game discussion on what's your strategy going to be for today. Feels like that. In fact, Viren, first question I want to ask you is, when you look at the considerable success of IPL, don't you sometimes feel it could have been hockey, considering hockey was the first off the blocks with Premier Hockey League?
Oh, absolutely. I still remember that meeting back in 2004. We had you and were part of the ESPN team, and you all had launched the PHL. And I just thought it was an amazing tournament. And if you actually think about it, the recall value of the PHL and all the teams at the PHL is immense. Sherry Punjab and Maratha Warriors. And also, I was just at Hyderabad airport yesterday, and someone tapped me, and he said that he had such wonderful memories of the PHL. He remembers all the Maratha Warrior players, and I was just amazed to think that people remember something that was 20 odd years ago. And I think it was a great concept, maybe just a little bit ahead of its time. But that was an amazing initiative by you, Himanshu. You were at the forefront. So I hope that really, I think a strong hockey league is so important to boost the profile of the sport.
Yeah, I mean, we had a phenomenal team. All those guys, Joy Bhattacharya, DJ, Bharat Sharma, Sameer Bajaj, all of
Ratin.
us worked. Ratin Basu, of course, worked with so much passion.
Yeah.
Well, I think one of the Orissa Steelers campaign is now the president of Hockey India. Perhaps you should have a chat with him and see how can we start PHL again.
Yeah, absolutely. Dilip was a friend, colleague, teammate, now the president of Hockey India. So yeah, he's wearing a lot of hats, standing for Lok Sabha elections as
and
well
a politician
now. So.
Yes, exactly.
So
Amazing.
he's an amazing guy, legendary defender for India. So it's great that we have a former player heading the Hockey Federation for us at the moment, and I hope it leads to a lot of positive initiatives for Indian hockey, especially I think grassroots development and development of women's hockey. I think that's those are two areas where we really need a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'm gonna have to ask you a lot of questions about Olympic Gold Quest, but I'm gonna start by asking you, Viren. You had an incredible transition from sports. You retired very young. At 28, you retired. Then you went on to do your MBA at the Indian School of Business. And now you are you're the Chief Executive Officer of Olympic Gold Quest, a very successful program. Was this transition planned?
I would say a bit of planned and not planned. Actually, what was planned was that I definitely knew during my entire playing career that at the end of it, I definitely wanted to study. I wanted to do my MBA. And interestingly, in 2003, when India played the Afro-Asian Games, which incidentally, Himanshu was also at Gachipowli, which was one of the venues for the PHL, the Indian men's hockey team stayed at ISB. And that was my first introduction to ISB, and I was quite fascinated by the school, the concept. I thought the curriculum was excellent. The peer group was really good. It was a 1-year course. So as a transition part of my life, there came a time where I felt that I had given all I could as a player, and I wanted to move on to the next stage. And ISB was a great transition, a great learning for me. And I think it helps me till this day in my journey at OGQ. And I feel really blessed. And I have to say that actually at ISB, I had a conventional corporate job, campus placement. I was about to start that at the end of the year. And then I happened to meet two of our sports legends, Geet Sethi and Prakash Padukone. And they had started this not-for-profit organization called OGQ, with a very sharp mission to help Indian athletes win Olympic gold medals. And they were looking for a CEO, and they approached me. Now, first of all, Geet and Prakash for me were gods, and I couldn't say no to them. But secondly, also, I think the mission of OGQ really resonated with me, because it sort of gave me the platform to help the next generation of athletes do something which I couldn't do, which is win an Olympic medal and as a
Hmm.
player. And I also wanted to ensure that the mistakes that were done during my playing career were not repeated for the next generation of athletes. And that's how I joined OGQ on 1st June 2009. It's been a great journey, Himanshu, 15 years now, and we have supported the training of almost 600 Olympic as well as Paralympic athletes. In the last three Olympics, India has won 15 Olympic medals. The training of nine of the 15 medal winners was supported by OGQ. And in fact, Tokyo was our first Paralympic cycle, and India won 19 para medals. The training of 10 of those 19 was supported by OGQ. So it's been an amazing journey, full of happiness, full of joy, full of pride. And it gives me a lot of happiness and joy to really nurture the training and the journeys of so many young athletes. Take for example, Lakshya Sen. We started supporting him when he was 10 years old. He was up to my waist, Himanshu, at that point of time. And today, 12 years later, he is 2 inches taller than me. He's the youngest player in the world in the top 10. And it's just been a great journey, to be honest, for so many players.
All these names you took, and I
I
have some questions in connection with that. First is, how active a role do Prakash Padukone and Geet Sethi play in the day-to-day running of OGQ? The other question is, so OGQ existed when you joined them as CEO. How long back had OGQ started? Could answer both the questions, please.
Yeah. So OGQ was actually incorporated in 2001, but no real work had happened till 2007, 2008, simply because they were struggling to raise funds. And I think,
Yeah.
like the PHL, OGQ was also a concept a little bit ahead of its time. And Shitin Desai, who the executive vice chairman of Merrill Lynch, was the first donor of OGQ. Now he's also a director of OGQ. And once he started with his own personal funding, the ball started rolling. And Gagan Narang was the first athlete to be supported by OGQ just before the Beijing 2008 Olympics.
Eight, yeah.
But really, they hardcore work operations at OGQ started when I joined in 2009. And I was the first employee. Then we started building a team from there on. And in terms of Geet, Prakash, Vishwanathan, Anand is also on our board.
Yeah.
Neeraj Bajaj himself, who wears both hats, the corporate hat, but many people don't know that he was also former India number one table tennis player. He's an Arjuna awardee himself. So a great mix of people from the sporting world and from the corporate world on our board of directors. And all of them, including Geet, Prakash, Anand, play a crucial role, I would say. Number one, in uh, in ensuring the implementation of the philosophy of OGQ, which is to
Mhm.
focus on excellence and to go really deep in the quality of preparations that we give our athletes. They play a huge role in fundraising for OGQ and opening doors to funding. And number three, I would also say in mentoring young athletes. I think
Mm.
mentoring is something that is missing, is a gap area in Indian sport, and who better than legends like Geet Sethi, Prakash Padukone, and Vishwanathan Anand to mentor the next generation of athletes?
And yourself, Viren.
I just don't consider myself anywhere close to the legendary status of the three of them.
No, that's what you always been. Very humble about your own achievements, but I'm sure you are also one person all these athletes definitely look up to. So, how what does your organization look like, and on a day-to-day basis? So, if you were to take example of say badminton, and there is an athlete who is playing the sport, how does it pan out? How does OGQ help this athlete?
Yeah. So first of all, OGQ supports athletes currently from 10 Olympic sports and nine
Hmm.
Paralympic sports Today, currently, we support the training of about 400 athletes. To give you a broad breakup, it's about 300 from the Olympic sports and 100 from para sports. Uh, Almost 150 of the athletes are junior athletes. So when I say junior, that's in the age group of 11 to 19 years. Every single athlete that comes on board the OGQ program, we have a full-fledged research team. They would have researched for at least 1 year before we take the athlete on board. So we look at quantitative factors. There are obviously results at under 10, under 12, under 14, under 16 levels. We're tracking various sports. By the way, we support athletes from our 5 priority sports in Olympics are badminton, boxing, shooting, archery, and wrestling. You may ask
Mm,
why these 5 sports? Because
mm,
all the research over the last decade and a half show that these are the sports where India has the best chance of winning Olympic medals. If you look
mm,
at current pool of talent, pipeline of talent for the future, if you look at comparison between the rest of the world in terms of competition. Also, if you analyze the Olympic medal table of the last 6 Olympics, going back to Sydney
mm,
2000, and you see the top 25, 30 nations on the medal tally, you will see that most of them win around 75% of their medals from only 4 sports. So the
mm,
lesson here is to win Olympic medals, you have to focus, focus, focus. And that's the DNA of OGQ, to focus on excellence. And we go deep in the 5 sports that I mentioned. We also support athletes from 5 other sports in Olympics. Uh, Take, for example, Mirabai Chanu. Mirabai Chanu is one of the 3 weightlifters that we support. And all these
yeah.
sports like weightlifting, swimming, table tennis, I would say these are outlier sports. If we see an
Mm,
exceptional young talent in that sport, we would be definitely keen on supporting those talents. Once we get the athletes on board, we support these athletes in terms of ensuring they have the best coaches, be it Indian or foreign, the best training facilities. Although we don't own any facilities of our own, we use existing government or private facilities, but we ensure that they're training in a good facility.
no.
Number 3, we ensure that they have good equipment. So, take for example, in a sport like archery, think of a young, talented 13-year-old archer coming from Jharkhand. That archer
Mm,
cannot afford archery equipment that costs 4 to 5 lakhs. OGQ
mm,
ensures they're given the right equipment at the right time and a right technical coach to teach them on that equipment. So, equipment is a big part of our support. And last but not the least, we have put together a team of world class doctors, physios, nutritionists, mental trainers. I think something that I didn't have during my playing career in a very physical sport like hockey, where you get so many injuries. I remember, Himanshu, I have fractured 4 fingers just of my right hand over my playing career. And I remember running from pillar to post, searching for the right doctor, searching for the right physio. There
mm,
weren't any at that point of time. We don't want
yeah.
elite, and and when you get injured, you lose your place in the team. Your fitness goes down to zero, your confidence drops, and we want to ensure that this generation of athletes doesn't feel as if they are abandoned. Because uh, in India, especially, when athletes win, 1,000 people come forward to support them, but athletes
Mm,
need support the most when they lose and when they're sick and when they're injured. And that's the time that OGQ, I think that's, I would say, another DNA of OGQ, to support athletes when they lose and sick and injured.
I was going to ask you what kind of government support do you get during your program? And you alluded that government allows OGQ athletes to use the facilities. Is there a financial support also which comes from the government?
No, we do not take any financial support from the government, but I would say that we work very, very closely with the government. I myself was on the BMO task force along with Gopi Chand and Abhinav, where we prepared
Yeah,
the plans for the next 3 Olympics. So this was in 2016-17. So that was for Tokyo 20, Paris 24, and LA 28. I'm on
yeah.
what is called as the Mission Olympic Cell, which is the highest government body that looks after Olympic preparations. So OGQ works very closely with the government. We just don't take government
Hmm.
funding. I have to say that I think I've been part of sport for the last 25 years as a player, now as an administrator. And I think in the last 10 years, the both the quality and quantity of government support has been excellent. The bureaucrats are excellent. If you look at the Director General of Sports Authority of India today, Mr. Sandeep Pradhan, he himself is an IT and he is an IRS officer, taken a
Hmm.
deputation to sport. By far the best bureaucrat in sport I have seen ever. I mean, quick
Wow.
decision making, understands sport deeply, has empathy for athletes, moves with speed. These are what you need in model sport. If you look at the Mission Olympic cell, every single week on Thursday afternoon there is a meeting. There's an online meeting once a month. There's a physical meeting. Proposals of all the top athletes preparing for Paris are immediately approved or not
Amazing.
approved, communicated to the athletes, and uh, so it's about, I think, collaboration. What has really improved in the last decade is collaboration. And
Nice.
you look at government, you look at not-for-profit organizations like OGQ. We're working very closely together. We're sharing intelligence, sharing information, ensuring that there's no overlap in support and all gaps are taken care of. So I think this collaboration has been a big part of the betterment of Indian sport over the last decade. And I would say the government is still by far the biggest stakeholder. And so, for example, if you look at Asian Games stats, Himanshu, in the previous two Asian Games, India came eighth in the medal tally. We were
Hmm.
even behind countries like Indonesia, Iran, Uzbekistan. In this 2023 Asian Games last year and
Hmm.
Hangzhou, India finished fourth, only behind China, Japan, Korea. And that's where
Hmm.
ideally we should be. Our medal tally in 2018 was 70 medals. It went up to 107 medals. This sort of jump of more than 50% increase in medals cannot happen without organized, structured support across the board. So, government, federations, organizations like OGQ, and also are collaborating to make this happen.
Sounds like music to my ears. A side story. In 2003, I had gone to South Africa for the India-Pakistan World Cup. There, South Africa had already started the World Cup of football, which was to be held in the country in 2010. So I bought a
Yes.
bottle of wine with the dream in my life, if India qualifies for the Olympics, the football team, that's the day I'm going to open it. And till a few years back, I did not believe it's going to happen. But I really, hand in my heart, have started believing that we might just get there. Football also has grown so well in India. And hearing what you are saying, it just gives me, more heart that it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. I think and Himanshu, both of us have seen Indian sport in the early 2000s, and I would say federations, especially at that point of time, in terms of governance, uh, uh, compliance, caliber, was very weak. And I would say
Hmm.
now federations have vastly improved. Sports Authority of India has massively improved. So things are improving. We are moving in the right direction. I would still say there's a lot of work to be done. We need more and more good people in Indian sport. I think the best
Hmm.
people coming out of the ITs, IMs, they look at conventional jobs in the corporate world. We need to be able to attract the best talent into sport. And I'm seeing that gradually happen, but we need that coming now, not in a trickle, but in a deluge, to really
Yeah.
be up there as an organized industry.
So, Viren, like you were saying earlier, you've been the part of the Prime Minister's task force, which focuses on increasing our medal tally in Olympics, and you've been a part of it when we were targeting the 2020 Olympics, now 24 this year, and 28. Would you say the Prime Minister Modi also have a very clear vision that India needs to do better on sports? Because we
Oh,
haven't
absolutely.
seen
I think.
past prime ministers engaging with athletes the way he's done. So, what are your views on that?
Well, absolutely. I think the government undoubtedly has done an excellent job. I would say over the last maybe a couple of Olympic cycles, and results are beginning to show now. Because in sport, it takes almost a decade to build champions. Nothing happens in overnight, especially in sport. So think about it. If India is bidding for the 2036 Olympics, today the
Yeah.
athletes are going to play in 2036 will be in the age group of 12 to 15 years old. So we need to
Yeah.
identify the right talent, put them in the right ecosystem, ensure they have the right technical training and support right now. In the life of an elite athlete, the window is very short, and every single day, every single session is very, very important. And if I summarize the sort of PM's vision in that PMO task force report, you will see a lot of focus on two main areas. One is grassroots development and junior development. And that is manifested today in what is called Khelo India, where at
Mm.
under 17, under 21 levels, there are quality tournaments across the board. I wish when I was under 17, there were quality national level tournaments, well organized, the best players coming together for it, great facilities. And that's actually a very important tournament nationally for identification of the best talent for the future. So that's one, grassroots development and accessibility to sport. And number two, there's been a big push on raising the standard of coaches and incentivizing
Mm.
coaches more. Because for India to build Olympic champions, there are 100 ingredients that go into the mix of building those champions. But the most important ingredient in the mix is the coach. Unless we have world class coaches at the grassroots level, there's no way we can build Olympic champions for the future. So we need to raise the standard of Indian coaches so that
Mhm.
working at grassroots level. So Sindhu and Saina and Mary Kom were all 8, 9, 10 years old at one time. And it's very important that there's a coach that makes a difference to the life of that 8-year old and actually gives them the right tools to success for the future.
You took names of these athletes, and you were mentioning Laksh Sen earlier. Are you able to rope in their support for Olympic gold quest? Like, do you ask a Mary Kom, come support us, whether it is inspiring athletes, training them, or helping in raising capital, in raising money?
Oh, absolutely. I think, we supported Sindhu when she was 13 years old. We supported Mary
Mm.
Kom. It's been a 15-year journey with Mary Kom, with Sindhu. Laksha, it's been 12 years. Saina, it's been 15 years. Gagan Naran, it's been 15 years. Today, we do
Wow.
not support them. Today, they support OGQ, not in terms of their money, but in terms of their time. They come for OGQ
Mm.
events where we raise funds. They help us select the most talented junior athletes in their sport. They mentor those athletes in their sport. So their time is precious, it's invaluable. And I think all these athletes are great ambassadors for GQ. And honestly, for me, they're like family. It's been a 15-year journey, it's a 15-year struggle, so many ups and downs in sport. But I wouldn't change it for anything in the world, honestly.
Yeah, it is an amazing story. And so, what are your expectations from the Olympics this year? Are we going to beat the number seven? We got seven medals last Olympics, right? Panditri, I know is a difficult business, but would like to get your views.
I hate predictions, honestly, because inevitably I get them wrong. But you always have to hope, and always have to be positive. I think breaking the double-digit barrier is uh, definitely possible. But for that to happen, I think shooting has to break its duck from the last two Olympics. Shooting has
Hmm.
always been a major and very important Olympic sport for India, uh, but we haven't won a medal from shooting in the last two Olympics. So this time we've got a highest number of qualifications. 21 shooters, I think, have qualified, and if we don't get at least three medals from shooting, which is definitely possible based on, I'm saying, average scores in the last 2 years. So if you look at the
Hmm.
scores, just on scores, I'm not talking in thin air or talking in hope. Based on scores, we should get multiple shooters in the final. That's top eight or top six, depending on the event. And from there, it's like a penalty shootout, and how they convert the final to a medal. And that's
Yeah.
something where it's about handling the pressure and years of training coming down to that. But shooting is such an important sport. I would love for hockey, Himanshu, to repeat our medal and maybe get even better. But there's so many tough teams in men's hockey out there.
Yeah.
Australia, Belgium has just become so strong of late. Holland, Germany. Uh, Argentina, Spain,
You
England
got
always
Australia
dark
also in
horses.
your group. New Zealand, Ireland are
Australia is
also in
also in our
India's group.
group.
Yeah.
Always such a tough country for India. So many good teams. It's very sad that the women's hockey could not build on that fabulous fourth place performance at Tokyo.
Hmm.
So that's been a huge disappointment. But of course, Neeraj Chopra in pole position to repeat his victory. Uh,
Yeah.
in archery, weightlifting, Mirabai Chanu, badminton, the men's doubles are doing so well. So
Wrestling.
multiple chances of medals. And the thing with a big event like the Olympics, invariably nothing goes to plan. And it's
Yeah.
how you deal with uh, tough conditions. It's how you deal with uncertainty. It's how you deal with ambiguity. And nothing goes to plan A. And but the
Hmm.
best players and the best teams are those that deal with adversity really well. And our players will really have to be on top of their game, on top of their focus and concentration levels. And Neeraj Chopra is such an amazing role model, I think, just because of his temperament and his mind and his
Hmm.
calmness under pressure. So, just so much to learn from him.
Fantastic. Wherein I really enjoyed this conversation. It's been offing for some time. I've been trying to catch you. You came to Singapore. We couldn't catch up at that time. But lovely to catch up with you. And so proud of all the great work you're doing at Olympic Gold Quest. And good luck to you. And good luck to India for the Paris Olympics. Thank you very much
Thank you,
for
Himanshu.
talking to us.
Thanks, Himanshu. Really enjoyed chatting with you after a long time and hope to see you in Singapore or India sometime soon.
Absolutely.